Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back once again to our virtual summit series on a roadmap to AI. Yours truly, Eric Kavanaugh, is here for the third in our three-part series on a roadmap to AI. Today's show, Destination AI, questions and answers like never before. We're going to get a couple presentations from Alex Kangoun of Athena Solutions, and then also from Ryan Welsh of Qlik, and then we'll do our regularly broadcasted radio show, DM Radio. So with that, let me just jump right in. Feel free to ask questions at any time. Alex Kangoun, take it away. The floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you, Eric. Alex Kangoun, I'm CEO of Athena Solution. Company started about 23 years back by PricewaterhouseCoopers partners, specializing in the data management, data consulting, and data governance by helping clients solve complex data management needs, data problem, difficult data problem. Through a lot of these years, we have been closely working with the talent. And recently, because we see some demand, we put together a roadmap to AI series of webinars together with Qlik and Blur Group. If you think about the typical AI journey, there is no such thing as a typical AI journey because every company have their own way to do. But there are several common components between them. It starts with the business use identification. Then you will need to do data cataloging, data profiling, understand the data. Then all this data needs to come together somehow. And then you go through the model building. In parallel, you can do some reporting, analytics with it. Through the model training, then it goes to operational and model deployment of the model. In the first webinar, Ala and Robert discussed on the fabric of success, a roadmap to AI. We discussed how the talent data fabric help solving these problems through the data profiling, data cataloging, of course, data integration. On the second webinar, Aaron and Jim talk about insight by association, where we drive into Qlik associative engine. I have soft spot for Qlik associative engine. Pretty much in every client presentation, I see clients smiling because it will help them to answer questions they didn't even ask and how it will work. Today, me and Ryan will talk about destination AI and how to, the final part of it, how the model building, training, validation, operation, it will work. What we heard from our client that although this is all the steps, they would like to get faster from the business use to actually deploy the model and see how it will work. Our approach to it is sometimes we're recommending data science sandbox. What it is, it's really why do you need it? Because typically data science work with some limited environment. At the same time, they work with wide range of data. They work with the structured, unstructured, semi-structured. Some data is government data, some data created government data. To some data, you will need to have access. It's public data, to some you need to subscribe. Sometimes data get fixed and you'll have to reprocess it. And extract value to get to this result, to get actual business outcome and business value from it. You will need to work through the data movement, transformation, so you will have to go through a lot of steps. And then after you got all this data and understanding of it, then data scientists start working with this. And a lot of time, by the time data scientist, he or she start working with it, the data is changing and they need to go back to this. And it's another factor, it's you'll have to work with their data that not impacting your production data, your experimental data. So what is a data science sandbox? It's science lab for your data, where data scientists, and we will call it data elite, can work and test your AI model without affecting production data. Everybody knows that data needs to be secure place. What I want to say is that when the data science have access to data, it doesn't mean that governance and security ignored. No, it will need to work with the governance and secure environment and boundaries of it. Data will need to be anonymized and encrypted. It takes time, if you would, and it takes processing power. It's also helping with the innovation and creative solutions in the rapid prototype. To tell you a little bit more about it, that a lot of time data needs to be actionable to do sidetrack of it. That a lot of time data scientists come up with their solution, and business users look at it and say, like, so what? What we refer to it, it's true, but useless. For example, data scientists can come with attrition model where you can tell that this customer most likely to be dropping the products or dropping the services completely. But the sales and marketing is not set up to do this. So it will help with their integrating this across different teams. It will innovation. It will bond together the different area of the team around the data and specific data problem. These data models can be easily reproduced and can be easily validated. Over the years, we developed data science sandbox best practices. So the data analytics will need to assume ownership of the data, again, with the governance and security in mind. They will need to be able to flexible enough to get the data in their space, allocate it, integrate it, and produce some result. In many cases, truth be said, a lot of companies already have the data science sandbox, but what we call it, it's a shadow system. Shadow system, it's meant the data science or data science team put away some areas, guarded data where they can run experiments, work with it, come up with some ideas and solve it, validate the idea, and then put it in production. So there's data science is about bring it all to light. It needs to have scalable infrastructure. Scalable, I mean that it doesn't have to be like a lot of resources. Sometimes data scientists deal with a lot of data. Sometimes they're dealing with structured and unstructured data, and they will need to be able to have a right size for it. Budget is everybody operate within the budget. It needs to be within the budget at the right size solution. It's not just hardware or software, its resources needs to be allocated. A lot of time it needs to be support not from data science team, it needs to be support from infrastructure. And solution have to be fast as possible. You come up with idea, you test it, validate it. If what's work, you keep it. What doesn't work, you validate it, you change it. And data science sandbox should provide integrated view. The data, a lot of time is a real environment, corporate. By the time you got to the solution, it's maybe like data is too late to be called. In the current environment, like all data, it's not maybe like acceptable and sufficient for some actionable results. With all of this, just to wrap it up, the data science is about provide quickest way from the beginning, from the concept, business solution, all the way to their actual implementation and the deriving value from the business. At that point, I want to transition to run. Qlik AI provides really, really nice interfaces and really solve a lot of these problems that I mentioned. So at that point, I will stop sharing it, Ryan, and I will pass it over to you.
Okay, Ryan, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Alex. All right, perfect. So hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Welsh. I'm the field CTO for generative AI here at Qlik. Today, we're going to talk about Qlik Answers. Qlik Answers is a new product that we launched at our user conference, Qlik Connect, in early June. It is a generative AI-powered knowledge assistant for getting answers from unstructured content. And so a lot of times, folks that have to use information to make decisions, which is basically all of us, often can't find that information in the unstructured content that makes up 80% of the world's data. And so I know I find myself constantly on a daily basis going to different repositories to find an answer to a question that I have about maybe some sales enablement data, or maybe a customer that's actually using the product that I'm trying to help them with. And so it's this awareness and accessibility that causes a lot of challenges for enterprises. The best research that I've seen shows that users spend about 20% of their time looking for answers in unstructured content. So that's about 1 day a week. If you have 10,000 employees, 2,000 of them are off looking for answers 100% of the time. It's an incredibly inefficient process. And kind of similar to the challenges that you face with structured data, the underutilization of unstructured data leads to missed opportunities across the organization. And so in knowledge management, sales reps, pre-sales folks who can't access your sales enablement data in a timely fashion just leads to suboptimal sales and operational decisions. Customer support agents who can't find the right information to answer a user's question quickly leads to poor customer experience. Customers living in products that can't find answers to questions through product assistance, leads to just poor success rates and outcomes with that customer actually using the product. The use cases go on and on and on for trying to find answers in unstructured text data. And the traditional way that we would do that was just with traditional search systems. But I think we can all agree that there's a huge difference between a search result and the answer to a question. And so a search system will, bring back a list of results that you need to click on to ultimately, read through and sift through to find the answer to your question. Whereas a generative AI system will ultimately enable a user to ask a question and get a natural language answer in response. And so there's just night and day, the ability between a traditional search system and these generative AI systems. And so what we get asked constantly from enterprises is, how do I build a generative AI knowledge assistant? And so how you do it today is experimentation with unknown technologies. And so not a lot of people have been working in generative AI as long as I have, as long as the team here at Qlik has. And so you end up kind of managing multiple components and vendors. You're trying to cobble together different pieces of the puzzle that are out there. Companies often lack the technical expertise and skill sets to do this, which just leads to longer time to value and ultimately project failure and overall increased costs. And so when we looked at the market and what that meant was really talking to customers, one of the things that we heard consistently was, couldn't there be an end-to-end system that was easy to deploy out of the box? Kind of similar to search engines. Is there something available today that is the equivalent of an answer engine? And that's ultimately what Qlik Answers is it's a plug-and-play generative AI-powered knowledge assistant. It has the conversational interface that people have become accustomed to with generative AI systems. It allows users to ask natural language questions of their internal unstructured text content and get direct, contextually relevant, and importantly, trustworthy answers in response to their questions. This is, again, completely out of the box, just a plug and play generative AI powered knowledge assistant. What this does for users is provides that knowledge at their fingertips. And so we hear consistently from sales reps who actually use sales enablement tools powered by Qlik Answers that they can be on customer calls and actually ask questions of a system that the customer is asking in real time and get these answers back instead of having to say, I'll follow up with you. This obviously then pushes the pipeline a little bit faster. Importantly, it's answers you can trust. And so one of the things we've worked on really hard is to provide the explainability, to provide the provenance back to the underlying documents so people know where answers are coming from, so that when an answer does come back, they can look and trust it and verify for themselves. And then, of course, for the buyers of these technologies or for AI teams trying to build these systems internally, here's a system that is simple, plug and play, out of the box, allows people to consolidate all of their AI investments, data investments, analytic investments onto a common platform that is self-service oriented and trusted, and ultimately an independent vendor. And so the use cases that we've seen for this are just, it seems endless to be honest. Just sales, marketing, finance, human resources. I mean, I like to say that every search bar in every enterprise in the world is an opportunity for a knowledge assistant or for what's called an answer engine, generative AI powered answer engine. And so it's really kind of profound to think about, search has been around for so long, and now we're moving into this world where we can ask questions and get answers. And hopefully people, when I say that, people go through their days and they start to realize how many search bars there are throughout their workflows, such that they can ask their leadership teams to ultimately purchase answer engines to help them be more productive as they look for information. And so, we continue with the theme of a simple plug and play solution. And what's, I think, really unique is now coupling this with all the existing technologies that Qlik has always had. And so now you have the enterprise connectivity, which leads to what we call an always on AI index. And so it's constantly updating with changes to your underlying data so that it's fresh, ready to answer any questions from users. You can access this within Qlik Cloud. You can embed it into other systems. We have APIs to make it customizable. And then, of course, the explainability back to the underlying document sources, such that when people ask questions, they can get the answers. And then we capture the user feedback as well, so you can continue to improve the content and improve the system over time. One of the things that we've done, and I think this slide kind of highlights everything, is just abstracting away all of the complexity of building a system like this yourselves. And so we consistently see customers trying to cobble together a retrieval augmented generation system, which has over a dozen pieces that you need to put together. If you get one piece wrong, it has pretty significant downstream effects. And so being really good at putting these systems together, we've built this as a plug and play system that people can use out of the box. And just the reception from the market has just been pretty great. So instead of cobbling it together themselves, it's just really something that works out of the box. This allows, I think, people to unlock new value. I think people have always kind of thought about Qlik as kind of the structured data, and really all of his intelligence, not just Qlik, has been about getting answers from unstructured data. I think the people that are being very forward thinking are starting to think about how can they help their users get answers from unstructured data. And that's really what we've done here, and putting all that together in a fast, simple, and low cost system that ultimately people can ask questions and get those answers. I think the most forward thinking thing that us and other folks are actually thinking about is kind of a seamless interaction between structured and unstructured data. And one of the things one question I constantly pose of people is, if a business user has a question, do they care where the answer comes from? No, you don't care where the answer comes from. You just want the answer to your question. And so we envision a future where questions can be asked by users, and whether it comes from structured or unstructured data, the system is ultimately pulling from the relevant sources and answering the user's question in a direct, contextually relevant, and trustworthy way. And so, I foresee in this future where we kind of have these seamless interactions with all different types of data formats. And I think that is a pretty compelling future, because right now, a lot of times when we have answers to questions, we can only get it from subsets of information. And so it's kind of more of this system that is driven by all the data that we have within an enterprise. And so I'll stop there. That's the overview of Qlik Answers. Again, it's just a plug and play generative AI powered knowledge assistant for internal unstructured text data.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And I'll throw one question at you before we do our radio show. I'll throw it over at Ryan. Recency of instructions, for example, when someone's trying to figure out how to use something, that's really important. And you and I talked about this before, preparing for this call. You typically put that in the metadata. Is that right? So I get the most recent version of an answer to a question, which is probably the most accurate answer, right?
Yeah. That's where you would want to put it. I mean, ideally you remove the old stuff if it's bad,
Right.
right? But
Right.
not everyone keeps their data completely up to date and clean. But you can start to kind of have attach this information to the underlying repository such that users get the most up to date information.
Excellent information. Look this up online, folks. Qlik Answers, of course, Qlik, and our radio show comes up next.